Welcome back after a brief break to the Over the Edge 2018 Benefit Special Olympics Delaware. We are closing in on the 3 o'clock hour. Coming up will be the following people in some order. We still haven't determined, other than Tami Wilson and Vimbai Jhamba are on board. But you'll also see Mike Woodin, Jim Long, Sheridan Long, Jay Jones, Keelin Murphy will also be going over at some point as well. Vimbai Jhamba works for TD Bank and was actually originally going to go over on Media Day, got held up at work. She works somewhere down in Maryland at a branch down there, so they squeezed her in here to this slot here, going down with Tami Wilson. Tami Wilson is a Special Olympics volunteer. That's all the information we have on her. So we're not going to be able to give you any more information than that. I can tell you, just because I know this, that Vimbai Jhamba has gone over before. She is, as I mentioned, an employee at TD Bank, one of the 3 sponsors of this event, along with Brandywine Realty Trust and the Newcastle County Fire Service. And so she has been a supporter of Special Olympics for many, many years as well with TD Bank's involvement. They've been a sponsor of this event since its inception, now 8 years ago. If you're just tuning in, it is a 17-story building here in Wilmington, the 300 Delaware Avenue building. Driving by, it's the one with the TD Bank and the PNC Bank at the bottom of it. And if you look up 17 stories, 222 feet. And Tami Wilson there giving the arms out, look at me pose, which will then be available for her to have as a picture. All the volunteer photographers we have here today, as well as Jimmy Smith's crew providing video, audio, and social media, will all be available post-event as well, all free of charge. Whether you want to watch the live stream for the first time or the second time, it's split up so you can easily find the person you're looking for, and our photographers do the same thing to make it easy for you to find who you're looking for. Tami Wilson on the left and Vimbai Jhamba on the right, starting to make their way down. They are the 71st and 72nd of what will be 82 people going today. So we are in the home stretch coming down here. I'm sorry, I should say 90 people going today. 82 people will have done it today, plus 8 yesterday. So we do have about, it looks like 20 more to go, 19 people to go before we wrap things up today. Last repeller scheduled to go at 4:50 p.m. They've been ahead of schedule all day, as they are here. Tami Wilson was scheduled to go over at 3 o'clock and actually began her descent a few minutes ago, and so back ahead of schedule here, despite the break that we took. Gave you an opportunity to see some actual video footage of Special Olympics. The 4,200 athletes who proudly call themselves Special Olympics athletes here in the state of Delaware, competing in 19 sports year-round. The next big event for them is June 8th and 9th at the University of Delaware, when more than 750 athletes and unified partners will compete in the sports of track and field, tennis, swimming, softball, bocce, and powerlifting. Again, that's June 8th and 9th. For more information about that or how to become involved in Special Olympics as an athlete, coach, unified partner, official, committee chair, committee person at an event, whether it's a fundraising event or a sports event, or also the fundraising events. Lots of different fundraisers that we do, including this Over the Edge event. We have a truck convoy in the fall, reindeer run in the winter, the polar bear plunge in February, the ride to the tide in April, the motorcycle ride from Smyrna down to Rehoboth Beach, and a golf tournament at Bitterman Country Club in September. All the information about that, as well as being part of Special Olympics. Or if you just want to make a donation, you can make a donation at SODE.org as well. If you're using social media, please use hashtag OverTheEdgeDE. Sports News and Video has retweeted a few things. Brittany Horn, and talking about the Special Olympics here, she took the 17-story challenge last year and made it to the ground. Mrs. DeJong has tweeted as well. So whether you're using Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, again, use hashtag OverTheEdgeDE so that we know you're looking at us, watching us, retweeting us, sharing the stories, sharing the pictures. And again, you got going down right there. Two of the fundraisers who have raised $1,100 for Special Olympics. Tami Wilson on the left, Vimbai Jhamba on the right, going down at about the same pace, it looks like. And you can see they're kind of kicking out away from the windows and going back. We have rope handlers at the bottom who make sure that when you do that, when you do move your body up and back or side to side, sometimes whether it's because of the wind or because you're doing it intentionally, that they control you down at the bottom to keep you from going too hard back into the building or too far away from it. Just adds to the perfect safety record that this over-the-edge company, a company headquartered in Canada, has. They've done almost 800 events around North America, 360 different buildings. They've helped organizations raise over $73 million. More than 60,000 people have gone over the edge, not just here in Delaware, but all around North America. We eclipsed, when I say we, Special Olympics Delaware eclipsed the $1 million mark. This year we were presented a special crystal trophy last night by the head technician for achieving that mark. And as he said, not a lot of organizations do, but in just a very short time, 8 years, Special Olympics Delaware will now go over the $1 million mark. I'm John Busby along with Jimmy Smith. Jimmy's got 6 people here on his production crew, including himself, scattered around both in this production room where we're at. We are actually located in the boardroom, which is immediately behind on the other side of the windows when you see the landing area, which you'll see shortly here with Tami and Vimbai coming down. You'll see the landing area, and we are directly behind those windows. In a way, we don't even know there's an event going on outside if we weren't watching it here live on all the different monitors that we have here in the control room. But we can hear the DJ, we can hear the music. There's a big party outside. During the brief break, I walked outside just to check it out, and there's a lot going on out there. So if you're in the area or want to come down, there will be people going over the edge for the next couple of hours. As you can see, Tami has landed, and Vimbai is close behind her going over the edge for Special Olympics Delaware. Some supporting sponsors that have given so much to this event over the years: Delaware Law Enforcement for Special Olympics, the Sheridan Suites in downtown Wilmington, a couple blocks from here, Delmarva Broadcasting Company, and the Delaware Rock Gym. Yesterday was Media Day, and we had several on-air personalities who went over the edge. It's something that is offered every year, and what Special Olympics asks for in return is that they just use all of their social media channels, their broadcast channels to promote the event before, during, and after, trying to increase the awareness of it. Jimmy Hoppa from WBOC went over Leah Rizzo from Eagle 97.7, Sean Roman, who is on Eagle as well, but also on Cool 101.3 and 105.9, AJ Laurie from WJBR, Kevin Hayes from WDEL, and then this morning, Nancy Johnson from the Wake Up Crew went over the edge for the first time. WSTW did a live remote right out front here. A lot of people stopped by to say hi. Nancy and Joe Allen, her co-host, have a lot of fans in the area, so they were excited to see them out live. And, of course, a lot of people look forward to seeing Nancy go over the edge. They talked about it a lot during the week leading up to today. Nancy was admittedly nervous, but she did a wonderful job going over and, of course, raised a lot of awareness for Special Olympics Delaware. 17 stories, 222 feet. 3 people have done this all 8 years. They've all gone over today already. Marianne Evans, Danny Hall, and Hank Tomsick. Marianne and Hank are both parents of Special Olympics athletes. Danny Hall, a longtime volunteer for Delaware Law Enforcement for Special Olympics, a member of the Delaware State Police. And when you start thinking of it from a numbers-wise, $1,100 is impressive. And that's what each person who has gone over the edge had to raise to be part of this event. But when you start looking at it from an individual standpoint, so Mary Ann Evans has raised more than $8,000, actually closer to $9,000 just by herself, as has Danny Hall and Hank Tomsick. And that's just if they raise the minimum. All the edgers are encouraged to create a fundraising page to not only raise the minimum to offset the registration fee, but to raise more money, again, with all of it staying right here to benefit the 4,200 athletes. And so if you consider that all 3 of them raised close to $9,000, that means the 3 of them have raised $27,000 just among the 3 of them here in the last 3 years. So the pictures you're seeing are the fun that's going on outside. A couple dogs here. Safe to say they won't be going over the edge anytime soon, but what we hope is that the other people out there look at this, they like what they see, and they are interested in being part of this event. If you're watching the live stream, which obviously you are if you're hearing this, and you want to do this event next year, the good news is you can already sign up for next year. If you go to the Special Olympics website, SODE.org, click on the Over the Edge banner on the front page, and then you'll see at the very top of the landing page an opportunity to click a link and register for 2019. How it works is you pay $50 now through a credit card, and then you have the rest of the year to raise the $1,050 to reach the total of $1,100 that's required to do this event. So if you're thinking about it and you want to commit to doing it, and sometimes that's what it takes. It takes you making the commitment to do it now so that you work to raise the money and are able to go down next year. Go ahead and go to the Special Olympics website and do that. We have just crossed into the 3 o'clock hour, which means we've been on the air for a little bit more than 6 hours. And for those of you just tuning in, if you're looking forward to seeing who is coming up next, it's Mike Woodland, Jim Long, Sheridan Long, and Jay Jones, not particularly in that order, but all of them, and they might be among that group there being trained, are having the opportunity to see what it's going to be like, see what the harness fits like, what it's going to feel like. They'll actually dangle in the air there. That's what that ladder on the back right is for. One of the lead technicians going over everything. And then they'll be lining themselves up to go over the edge. Is going to be joining us. Tim went over, probably it's been about 2 hours ago. His sister Jillian is a Special Olympics athlete, and she spoke at the TD Bank reception last night, in which all the edgers were invited along with a spouse or significant other to come and enjoy cocktails and hors d'oeuvres and have an opportunity to see the building. The media people were still going over. Jimmy Hoppa in particular was the last one down, and that was sort of done intentionally. He then came in and spoke to the crowd about what the experience was like. And so one of the athlete who spoke at the reception was Jillian Matthews, and her brother Tim went over, and Tim was at that reception. Tim, welcome. You got the Superman cape. Pull that microphone nice and close to your mouth there so we can hear you nice and clear. First time you went over the edge, and how was it?
It was amazing.
Yeah, amazing. Would you do it again?
Absolutely. I've been trying to convince him to let me do it today.
That's aggressive. That's aggressive. Maybe for $1,100.
Yeah, I was going to just go find people out on the street. And
there you go. There you go. Yeah, you give them the old, I'm going to do this, or either you have to do it or give me money to do it type of thing. So tell us about it. You probably had some thinking about what it might be like. Have you ever seen this event here?
I've never seen the event, no.
Okay, so it was all completely brand new to you. And so talk us through the experience.
Getting ready and everything, probably the hardest thing was just kind of sitting and waiting, because then your mind's running through and everything. But once I got up top, the people upstairs are absolutely amazing, and you don't even realize necessarily that you're getting ready to go over the edge. Because it's just like they're chatting with you and just making you feel real good and real comfortable. And next thing I know, they're like, all right, kick off. And it was a blast. It was so much fun. I absolutely am going to do it next year. And my best friend that I grew up with, he said to me, he was like, last night, he's like, I wish I was going over with you. I'm like, dude, next year. So.
And Jillian is one of our speakers, spoke at the reception very well, as she always does. An athlete in a lot of different sports, does a lot of different things with us. What was it like growing up? And this is something, you're the first sibling we've had in here.
Okay.
We've had some parents, some relatives, some friends. What was it like? Are you older than Jillian?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was it like growing up with a sister who has a disability?
I suppose it certainly has like some challenges and stuff, but she is unbelievably remarkable in everything that she does, and she puts all of herself into everything. She does track, bowling, bocce, golf. She goes and speaks at all these events, and it is really it's amazing to see how far she's come, because when she was little, she wouldn't talk at all, and now you can't get her to stop. But she's an absolute blast and an inspiration to all of us.
And she's going to the USA Games out in Seattle.
Yeah.
Are you going to have an opportunity to go out
Yeah,
there?
I'm going to fly out.
Oh, great. Good.
Yeah.
So you must be looking forward to that.
Really, really excited, yeah.
Yeah. And, did you play sports growing up?
I played a little baseball and some golf. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got, it's been more of a sibling relationship than an athlete relationship where you're an athlete and she's an athlete type of thing.
Yeah.
With that, did you guys ever fight? Did you have the normal brother sisters? I don't know how many years apart are you.
We're maybe 7 years apart.
Oh, so you're too far apart.
We tease and bug each other.
Right, but not like my kids
no,
do,
no.
who are 2 years apart. Yeah, and I did with my siblings who are 2 years apart.
Yeah.
So, well, that's great. So, was she here watching you? She must have been here watching
absolutely.
you today.
Yeah.
So, and your parents were here as well. So, just a neat experience. So, what would you tell somebody if they wanted to know? If they're out there, because we think a lot of people. We've had more than probably 12 or 1,300 tune in at this point. And maybe some people are thinking about, geez, that's something I want to do. What would you tell them? Like, was there anything that happened that you didn't expect, or that made you feel better about the experience, or what I'm saying?
The biggest thing that surprised me was the experience taking the first step over the edge, because my anticipation for that was, I didn't feel a lot of nervousness leading up to it, because I really enjoy this type of stuff, but I was anticipating to have that feeling when you're at the very top of the roller coaster and you regret every decision you've ever made before you go down. And I was surprised not to feel that the equipment and everything just feels very secure, very comfortable. Everyone up there, as I said, just all the support, you just kind of trust it and you go. And I was amazed at that. And then it was just an absolute blast. And I would tell anyone who's even thinking about doing it, try it once, and then you're going to be hooked.
All right, you heard it from Tim Matthews. You can sign up for 2019 right now. Just go to SODE.org, click on the Over the Edge banner, and it takes you right to the landing page. Tim, we appreciate you joining us. Thanks for going over the edge. We'll look forward to talking to you after your second rappel in 2019.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right, Tim Matthews, whose sister Jillian is a Special Olympics athlete and does just about everything there is to do in the world of Special Olympics. All right, it looks like we've got a couple people up on the ledge, ready to go.
We got the Longs, Sheridan and Jim.
And so if you've tuned in to see Mike Woodin, it doesn't mean that you missed him. You didn't. And I assume he will be going down here pretty soon. Sheridan is a first-time edger, going over with her father, Jim. And Jim is a second-time edger. So, again, one of those situations where a father has recruited a child. We had the Junglings earlier, which was a child recruiting the father. And so a lot of families going down together. We've had cousins, we've had aunts and nephews over the years, a lot of father-sons, a lot of mother-daughters, a lot of father-daughters, mother-sons, that type of thing. And here we have a father and a daughter getting ready to go down. Sheridan is a Special Olympics volunteer. She attends St. George's High School, and that was all the information she gave us, and we didn't get any information from Jim other than he is a second-time edger. So you'll see both of them going down here. They are edgers number 72 and 73 out of 90 that are going over the edge as part of this event. So the Longs, father-daughter, Jim and Sheridan, getting ready to go over the edge for Special Olympics Delaware as we head into the 3 o'clock hour. Again, if you're just tuning in and you're looking for Mike Woodin, he has not gone yet. Jay Jones, Keelin Murphy, and Richard T. and Richard J. Perillo are expected to go over here in the next several minutes. We had a little break just because there was a break in the schedule. There was no other reason other than that, which does happen once somebody, an edger, raises the entire $1,100. That is when they are given the opportunity to select the slot, the time slot in which they want to rappel. And so as turns out, we have time slots all the way from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock. And so we had a half an hour gap between 2:30 and 3, or actually I think it was between 3. No, it was 2:30 and 3. where nobody had signed up. And so there was a little bit of a half an hour break. And then we're buckled back in here for the home stretch of what has been a 6.5-hour broadcast so far. John Busby along with Jimmy Smith, and Jimmy is the producer of the production you're seeing here on the live stream. We are the only organization that we know of, and that Over the Edge has said, that produces an extensive live stream like we have, where you get angles like this directly from the roof. You'll see angles from the bottom, the landing area, looking up, which gives you a true picture of just how tall this 17-story building is. And so it's just a lot of different camera angles that gives you the appreciation of what these people are doing. You can often see the emotions in the faces of the rappellers as Jim and Sheridan head down. And then you can also see there up on the left, that is Sheridan. She's the first timer. You can see she's kind of on that first, there's a cement ledge there that you start out on, and you take about 4 steps on that, and then you have to take more of a bigger step to get over down to the plexiglass windows there and walk along down the rest of the way. So 17 stories, 222 feet. An opportunity, you might be able to hear the music in the background. The party is what greets you when you get down to the landing area, as well as plenty of people. I think, Jimmy, all the years we've been doing this, there's only been one time where we talked to somebody who did this and had nobody at the bottom waiting for him.
Yeah.
And I don't know who it was, but I know we had a guy, because I remember we were trying to get a conversation with him, and it was like, did you have fans or friendly here? Well, no. Did this, and so he just said, I want to just come out and do it. So, which, good for him.
Yeah, because that what's nice about that group of people out there is it just keeps changing. It's a rotation of people throughout the day. So that's really cool to see them kind of that shot down at the bottom when everybody comes together.
Right.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, you got the high fives, and there's athletes down there thanking the people who are going over. And don't forget to use the hashtag OverTheEdgeDE if you are on social media, whether you're tweeting or following somebody or liking it or retweeting it, so that we can have people who are following us. And we'll give you a mention. June just tweeted saying, good luck, Jim and Sheridan Long. And they'll hear that when they get to see the rebroadcast of the live stream. It will be available on the Special Olympics website early next week, as well as a lot of the photos that have been taken throughout the day here. Rain looks pretty good right now. We had some rain around the lunch hour, nothing that postponed or halted the event. In fact, the people that came in said really it wasn't even affecting them at all, certainly from a safety standpoint, or it would have been stopped, but not even bothering them in the process that they were going through. And so I just refreshed the radar, and it looks like any chance of weather that would affect the event, meaning high winds or lightning, is well off, probably about an hour west of Harrisburg, which means it's probably about 2 hours from here, depending on how quickly it's moving. And our hope is to be finished by 5 o'clock, mainly so that we can make sure we get all of the people in and don't have to go to a rain delay. But that decision obviously would be left up to the security people that are in charge. So Sheridan Long and Jim Long, June just wished you good luck on Twitter when you watch this rebroadcast of yourselves coming down. Jim, this is his second time going down, and Sheridan her first. And another thing that is always interesting to explore and learn about is you have a case of Jim Long, who's doing it for his second time. Did he do it last year, or did he do it 5 years ago and it's coming back? Senator Lavelle was on early this morning, and I think it was his 5th time that he's gone, but he did it the first few years and then took 3 years off or something like that and then came back. And so it's always interesting to wonder what the stories are of why you would take a break if it's something that clearly you love doing, if you've done it for 4 or 5 years. And there can be a lot of different reasons, especially if you're in the Senate. You might have been tied up.
Yeah,
with
there's that.
more important things, or at least something you have to do, more importantly, down in Dover. So that might have been the case with Senator Lavelle. But the Longs, Jim for the second time, Sheridan for the first time, are heading down the building. They're probably on about the 14th floor. The 10th floor is where the hub is of everything, and they always find out when they pass that area, there's a sign that says "Smile." Basically, everybody's looking for you to come by. And I know I've been in that 10th floor yesterday on Media Day, and all of a sudden you see somebody's feet coming down, and it's quite a surprise. There's a picture of the folks on deck up there. The lady in the maroon, her name is Miss Jen Bonham, good friend of our family's, actually in our wedding. And this is at least the second time she's gone over, I believe, maybe the third. I know her parents and sister are here. Her sister, Leslie, was with Jen at the cocktail reception last night. I had a chance to talk with them. And so she's going on. She is on the faculty at McCullough Middle School in the Colonial School District. Just received her PhD, as a matter of fact. She's going to be get her hood in a couple of weeks. And so an exciting time for her. A lot of hard work goes into that. She's a math teacher. And so her and my wife used to always joke. My wife handled the cooking. They were college roommates, and she handled anything that had to do with math. So that group you saw on the roof will be going over here shortly. One's on the wall now, or on the side of the building. Sheridan Long and Jim Long rappelling down. Not quite halfway, but getting there. And so heading into the final. We're not in single digits yet, but getting close as to how many people are left. The party's still going on outside. They do have soft pretzels. If anybody wants to go out and grab soft pretzels.
Hey, soft pretzels.
The guys can
Hot
head
dogs
out
for
here.
kids,
The
soft
crew
pretzels.
in here. They had hot dogs earlier. TD Bank, compliments of them. One of the sponsors, along with Newcastle Fire Service, Newcastle County Fire Services, and Brandywine Realty Trust. Delaware Law Enforcement for Special Olympics, a supporting sponsor, along with the Sheridan Suites Wilmington, Delaware Rock Gym, and Delmarva Broadcasting Company. This is the 8th year for this event, the only one of its kind in the state of Delaware. It's raised over $900,000 in 7 years. It will eclipse the $1 million mark this year. Last year, $138,000 was raised. It's $50 to sign up, and then $1,100 to participate. All benefits Special Olympics Delaware. 4,200 people with intellectual disabilities compete year-round in 19 sports, and it's supported by more than 4,000 volunteers. And those volunteers might coach. They might be what we call team assistants, where they don't really coach, but they're like team parents type of thing. They may volunteer as a referee at a soccer event like Edger did, who was in talking to us earlier today. They might prepare lunches at an event, which is how Kathy Conley, who went over the edge for the first time today, her family, longtime volunteers, and it all started out when she helped make sandwiches for summer games, and she's done several different roles, including coaching, being a unified partner, and various other volunteer roles, along with her husband Reed, who headed up the medical committee at summer games for years and really laid the foundation of how that should be done. And both their kids were unified partners. I know in swimming, but I'm not sure Lauren and Robert were their names, and so it was kind of fun for me to watch them grow up in the program and be unified partners. So the Conley family, just a tremendous family. So another example of ways that you can get involved in Special Olympics as an athlete, coach, volunteer, be part of a fundraising event. And a lot of people don't think about that. You know, when you ask about what do you do as a volunteer, and you know, these people that are here today, they're all volunteers. You know, they're volunteering their time, raising money for the organization. So don't exclude that opportunity to volunteer. If there's something you would want to do and you can't fit in a coaching schedule, you can't be a unified partner, you can't be at summer games, don't forget, run in the Reindeer Run, play golf in the Summer Camp Classic. If you ride a motorcycle, be in the Ride to the Tide, come do Over the Edge, jump in the ocean as part of Polar Bear Plunge. All volunteer opportunities that also happen to raise money for Special Olympics Delaware. You can see the Longs. It looks like Jim Long has landed first, and Sheridan Long will be landing shortly after. And up next, we'll find out who this is. You can see they're in the tripod area. I don't recognize the face.
Last name is Murphy.
Oh, last name is Murphy. I've got my list right here. That would be Keelin Murphy. Keelin Murphy, who is a supporter of Special Olympics Delaware, according to the list that we have here. So Keelin Murphy scheduled at 3:40, going at 3:20. So we're back ahead of schedule. Mike Woodin, as far as we know, is still going, as well as Norman Jones, even though they were scheduled to go before Keelin Murphy. Sometimes once they get them up on the roof, they juggle them around a little bit. Sometimes it's because somebody's ready and somebody's not. Sometimes it's because Two people request to go down together, and they try to honor that whenever they do ask without interrupting the flow of the event. And so that might be another reason that they're going before Mike had the chance to go down. So we are getting down into the early 70s of people who are heading down.
I think this is Mike. Mike Woodin? That's still
Mike Woodin?
Yeah,
Is
I
that
think
him?
this is
Okay.
him. Yep.
So Mike Woodin is up.
There's Mike Woodin.
And we just got
The wait is over.
Wait is over. We got the official call. Mike Woodin is going down. And going down along with Keelin Murphy. Still to go down, Jay Jones, the Perillos, Richard T. and Richard J. Frank Lorito, Cassandra Neumann, and Jennifer Bonham, all heading down here to support Special Olympics Delaware. $1,100 to make the rappel. 222 feet, 17 stories, 90 people will have done it by the time we wrap up everything today here at the 300 Delaware Avenue building in Wilmington, Delaware. Still not time to come down and check it out, especially if you work in the city here. Walk on over. We're close to Rodney Square, just a couple blocks away. They're serving soft pretzels. The hot dogs are gone, but they're serving soft pretzels. They just arrived. They're out there for people to enjoy when you come by.
Beverages
Everything's
as
free
well.
of charge. What's that?
Canned, I call it pop.
Because you're
You
from
refer
Cleveland.
to it as soda.
Soda. Canned soda out there for people as well. So lots to do here. They got the music going out there. They got people coming down the walls. We got bleachers for you to sit in. All kinds of fun stuff for you to do. So pop on over and check it out. The weather's holding out. Looking at the radar, it looks like we're going to probably be fine to get through the rest of today. We did have a few showers earlier today. It did not stop or postpone anything. Things went on as scheduled. And we got Mike Woodin and Keelin Murphy getting ready. That's Mike right there. He's up in the tripod. And that's the device that's anchored to the ledge. And you can see Mike has already kind of leaned back. And it is his first time that he has gone over. He's passionate about the mission of Special Olympics Delaware. He works at the University of Delaware. And he says Special Olympics is his inspiration because of the wonderful and amazing people. He enjoys hiking to mountain summits. Now, hiking up doesn't mean you rock climb down. So I'm going to assume that that is what he means by that. He's a hiker, not a mountain climber necessarily. And he does do the polar bear plunge as well. So Mike Woodin getting ready to go down, and that's him on the right and Keelin Murphy on the left. The names are flip-flopped because that is the side of the building they will be on when you see that picture here once they get going. Keelin Murphy is also a first-time edger, so we got two first-timers. She's looking forward to a new adventure while supporting a great cause. She does do the she says she's doing this to raise awareness for Special Olympics and to let others know that there are other ways to support Special Olympics other than just the polar bear plunge. And we've talked to several different fundraisers that we have. The polar bear plunge is without question the biggest one. Involves more than 4,000 people when it's all said and done, when you count the number of people that jump in, the number of people that support the events surrounding it, like the 5K run, the wing eating that they do, the sampling, ice cream sampling, all the different things that there is to do. The chili contest around the 12 restaurants and bars around the Rehoboth Beach area. So there's usually 36 or 3,700 bears that jump in the ocean, but there's at least usually another 1,000 or more people who support the other things that go on. So the Polar Bear Plunge certainly is the anchor fundraiser, but this Over the Edge event is a close second. We'll have raised more than $1 million over the 8 years by the time today's event is over. And Keelin has done the Polar Bear Plunge for several years, and she has done skydiving. She says she hopes that those jumps out of the plane will prepare her to go over the edge. She would like to mention the parishioners from her church, St. Paul's in Delaware City, who donated, and friends who donated. Thank you to Stacy and Sandy. So Keelin Murphy, not sure whose girls those are at the bottom. Mike, go. That answers that. They're Mike Woodin's, whether they're his children themselves or friends of the family. Of course, it would seem obvious they would probably be his own kids, but that's not always the case. So Mike Woodin heading down and Keelin Murphy heading down, both first-time rappellers. That is the next group who will be trained. There's another group on deck ready to get into the harnesses, or they're in their harnesses getting ready to hooked up to the tripods as soon as Keelin and Mike make it to the bottom. And they've just started their descent, or the lean back, I should say, at the top. And there you can see the image, and it's kind of deceiving because of the sun. You see the you see the actual person, and then you see what's really a long shadow of their body, and so they're not as far down as you think. The further down part is the shadow part.
It's a bluer sky than we've seen in a
Yeah,
little bit.
you know, when I stepped out quickly during that 20-minute break we had, it was actually very nice out because it wasn't real sunny and hot, and there was just enough breeze to keep it cool. And so the day really has turned out a lot better than we were anticipating early on.
Again, use the hashtag OverTheEdgeDE. Interact with us on social media, Twitter and Instagram. Follow our Instagram story, which is going right now, and Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram stuff. All sorts of additional things coming out of this. We'll have some of the great interviews that we've had. We'll have, obviously, the links to the broadcast archives broken into pieces. We'll have a little bit of a highlight feature that kind of encapsulates the day that will come out. We'll have pictures, as John mentioned. So a lot of good stuff coming from one of the premier events for Special Olympics Delaware.
And that's thanks to Jimmy and his crew here, doing all the camera angles, lots of different things, and working on the fly here, even putting together product that is going out as we are doing the live stream here. And so if you're seeing it, you like what you see and you want to see more, make sure you stay tuned to our social channels, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, as well as our website, sode.org. That's where the links will be shared, the links will be posted. In fact, I think we still have last year's live stream links posted to this year's landing page. We do that in case somebody is debating whether to go, and they can look and see a video or see the actual experience and what it entails. And so last year's will be taken down, and this year's will be put up within the next week or so for people to see. Obviously, a lot of people are watching friends go over. I don't know what our numbers are right now. It was over 1,000 about halfway through the day. And so a lot of people were tuned in watching the live stream, watching the people rappelling go over. And when I was out on the deck here or the patio at the party, I had a couple of people say, hey, when is that going to be up? I want to see myself go over. And so, you know, it's safe to say that we'll have at least 90 more views after next weekend, because people will go back on to see themselves go over this building, because obviously it's one perspective if you're doing it, and then it's going to be a different perspective for them to actually watch themselves do it.
The answer to your question, 1,700.
1,700 views. So, and you threw out the number 10,000 that we've had over the
over the
years.
Yeah, that's up to 11,237 to be exact.
And as we pointed out, you know, we learned when Banneker Elementary had 2 teachers go over at about the noon hour, they actually had their entire school watching. And so it was not only, you know, of those 1,800 views that we're getting real close to, that's just the number of computers or the number of devices that were watching it. But in each of those classrooms at Banneker Elementary, there was 25 to 30 kids watching it. And so the number of people who have had an opportunity to see this event, to see how it works, to see the excitement surrounding it, to hear in the interviews afterwards how much the people have enjoyed doing it. And yes, every single person we've talked to admitted that they were nervous. And having done the event, I understand that. I was nervous too. I would be nervous again, and I'm not scared of heights. We've talked to at least 15 people today who are scared of heights, admittedly scared of heights, and yet they still do the event, as you see Keelin Murphy make her landing there in the landing area, cordoned off there, right at the front of this building. We are located directly by the sign you see on the left, over the edge sign. We are looking at the back of that sign, in the boardroom that's located right here at the front of the building. So even though in some ways it seems like we're not anywhere near the event because we really can't see it, the boards and the signs are preventing us from seeing outside. That's why when we keep talking about the weather, we're looking at a radar. We can't see what's going on outside other than what we can see on the camera. But we are as close to the event as you can get. You just can't, we just don't get that feeling because we are behind more or less closed doors. Mike Woodin also finishing up his first rappel, and he'll get stuff swooped away from him, the equipment, and then taken back upstairs. I'm not sure if both of them have agreed that they would come in. The question is, a lot of times they get lost in the crowd once they're finished what they're doing there. They've got people to talk to, pictures to take, and they forget that we've asked them to come in and talk. So we're still hoping that they will, and time will tell whether or not they do. But if you're just tuning in, this is the Over the Edge event for Special Olympics Delaware, the 8th annual event, something that started almost 10 years ago is when this process started, and they secured the building here owned by Brandywine Realty Trust. It's the 300 Delaware Avenue building in Wilmington. One of the sponsors, Brandywine Realty Trust, the others TD Bank and Newcastle County Fire Services. TD Bank and the Brandywine Realty Trust have been sponsors from the beginning. Newcastle County Fire Services came on a couple years ago. Big party outside. You can see the action going on. A couple of tents, food out there, all free of charge if you stop by. There's bleachers so you can sit and look up and see the folks coming down. Should be the Perillos coming out, Richard T. and Richard J., Frank Lorito, Cassandra Neumann, Jennifer Bonham, and Sarahi Merced, all coming down under the edge. We've had 75 people go. We'll have to get that number up to 90 before we close things out today. There you can see Mike Woodin getting congratulations from what I assume are his daughters. They had the signs for him. So he is all done. And Jennifer Bonham is going to be one of the ones coming down.
Jay Jones.
And Jay Jones will join her. So Jay Jones and Jennifer Bonham. And all that means is that the Perillos probably were not ready to come down yet. So we're continuing to roll on here in our 6th hour of broadcast. Actually, I guess we're technically in the 7th hour because we've been on the air for 6 hours and 45 minutes. And we'll be on the air probably till approximately 5 o'clock. We are running, it's hard to tell whether we're running ahead of schedule because they've gotten a little bit out of order, which happens, especially when you have a gap of time. There was a built-in's not the right word. There was nobody scheduled for 30 minutes between approximately 2:30 and 3 o'clock. And so there was a little bit of a space. And what they do at that point is that if you're here and you're ready, they get you up, they get you trained, they get you ready to go, and then they just fill in there. And that's why Jen Bonham, who wasn't scheduled to go to 4:10, is going to go at 3:35 because she was here. I know her sister and her parents are down at the party waiting for her to go over. She is a teacher. Actually, she's a math coach at the McCullough Middle School. It's her 2nd time going over, and she has good friends whose children benefit from Special Olympics and everything that is provided for them. She wants to thank her family and friends who supported me in this fundraising endeavor. She's agreed to come on, and I talked to her last night at the cocktail reception, so we'll talk to her and get her thoughts on the difference between the first time and the 2nd time. I know she was nervous the first time. She told me she was nervous last night a little bit too, as I think anybody is who's going to rappel down a 17-story building, whether you're doing it for the first time or the 8th time, as 3 people have done, Danny Hall, Marianne Evans, and Hank Tomsick, all going down for the 8th time out of 8 years this year. Good shot there by the camera crew showing you the lever and how that works. And we've described it several times today, but of course we know our listening audience is changing constantly depending on who is going. And you can see how she's kind of pulling down on that lever. And she's now, gravity has taken over in that she is leaning back and she is no longer supporting herself on her feet. She is, it is the rope and her ability to move that mechanism to lower herself slowly at this point. And so you can see she's using her left hand to do that. I don't remember her being a lefty, but maybe she is. Or maybe she just chose to use her left hand. And you can see how she's just doing it slowly but surely. And this is where you control your own speed to a certain extent. You can't go too fast or it does lock up on you. And then how you unlock it is you can see her left hand there. She would pull it, and she did lock up. And if you're going to lock up, that's a good place to lock up because you got help. And so you can see she's going to push the lever up, and that's going to unlock it, and then she will pull it back down and continue her descent there. That happened to me, Jimmy, and I actually was relieved that I locked up because I had help right in front of me. Now, you always have help because there's radios on the edges. You can see the radio on the side of Jay's neck. Norman's his real name. He goes by Jay. And he's in constant communication with the people, the techs that are on the roof. So if somebody locks up halfway down and they forgot, because let's face it, you learn a lot.
Yeah.
Your mind's on, I'm getting ready to rappel 17 stories, but now you can communicate with the techs who are up on the building, and they literally talk you through the process. It actually looks like Jay has locked up also. And locking up is one of those things. Sometimes you lock up because if you jerk it too hard, it will lock up because they don't want you to take that big, quick step. And so it's not anything that has any indication of what kind of an edger you are or whether you're nervous or anything like that. It literally is just something that happens. It's happened to people who have done this 6-7 years because it's a sensitive system, but it's sensitive for a reason because of the safety. And so if you go too fast, then it does lock up. Don't forget, if you're sharing information on social media, it's #OverTheEdgeDE. That's #OverTheEdgeDE. You can see it in the top left-hand corner, as well as the website for Special Olympics. If you are interested in getting involved, whether it's as a volunteer, a coach, working at a fundraising event or a sports event, we have volunteer roles for everybody age 14 and older. We do require that you be 14 and older unless you want to be a unified partner, and a unified partner is someone, we say a peer, and it can be of any age without a disability who plays on the same team with the Special Olympics athletes, or it might be a bowling partner, might be a tennis partner, might be a golf partner, could play on a softball team, a basketball team, a soccer team, lots of different opportunities. We have a unified sports program in all the schools that are involved, or most of the schools, I should say, but also in our area programs. It's something that we are really trying to build. You heard Danny Hall, or actually, again, you probably didn't hear, but Danny Hall earlier when he was on was talking about one of his favorite Special Olympics stories is how he was a coach to a Special Olympics athlete, and they've now become very good friends. And that is a big part of what Special Olympics, some of the outcomes are, is not only are the athletes, do they become better athletes, is that they develop friendships with the Special Olympics, whether it's a coach or a unified partner or an athlete or a volunteer. There's an opportunity for friendship, just like in any sports organization that you might be part of. So Jen Bonham on the left, she's going, and Jay Jones on the right.
Thought that was an impressive story about the coach turned friend. I think that's, sometimes the age will keep you from doing that, but that's the type of connection that you get from this, and that's awesome.
And I think in this case in particular, I think Danny and this athlete were closer in age because he coaches some of our adults, and I think it was a running situation. We didn't get into the sport, but I think that might have been the case. And so I know for a fact they go out and do things. They go out to Happy of the Hour, they go out and do that kind of stuff. And so coming down, Jen Bonham on the left, and Jay Jones on the right, heading down. Jay Jones is the Sussex County Clerk of the Peace, and I actually saw an advertisement in one of the papers that was there. He's the second vice president of the Delaware Volunteer Firefighter Association. He supported Special Olympics in the past with fire service and took part in events such as Dodgeball Madness, the Truck Convoy, and the Polar Bear Plunge. He knows a lot of the athletes personally. He is going down for the first time, and he's more excited than scared, he admitted. He said, I might get a little shaky coming that time, but he will not get cold feet, and that's obvious as he is on his way down, about a third of the way down. He said this is the craziest thing he's ever done, and he wanted to give a shout-out to the Delaware Volunteer Fire Service in this event. Jen Bonham, as we talked about, is a math coach in the Colonial School District at McCullough Middle School, wanting to thank her family and friends who helped support her. So they are on their way down. First time for Jay Jones, second time for Jen Bonham. And we're going to bring in a couple people. Mike Woodin, I believe, is coming in, or thought he was coming in.
Maybe
Turned
not.
around and went back. That might have been his wife and
Yeah, it
child,
was.
and just pointed out
She
where
saw the
he's gonna
camera
be
and
heading.
went,
She wants no part of the camera. And so Mike should be coming in here shortly. We'll talk to him. It was his first time going down. We are at the 3:42 mark. Still yet to come are the Perillos, Richard T. and Richard J. Frank Lorito, Cassandra Neumann, Soraya Merced, and Kirk Becker are the ones coming up. It still looks like we have about 15 more to go in the next hour. Looking to wrap up by 5 o'clock. We are right on schedule. Weather looks good, at least to get us through this event. There are some storms in the west heading this way. Not sure if they will get here. The most important thing for us, obviously, is that they don't arrive before we get the last person over, so we can keep things rolling here so that the people who are tuned in to see specific people get to see them close to the time.
Yeah, there are storms coming.
Yep.
There's no
doubt
about
it.
it.
It's a good thing you're not flying out tonight, Jimmy.
No.
Because you might be delayed, and that would not be fun with a 2-year-old at the
No.
airport. It would be an expensive delay. Having lived through that, let me tell you, it becomes a very expensive delay. When
Not a
power
good
of
sleeper when she's playing road games. No.
And so you can see the group up top there. They're getting ready for the next set, who are probably going through the training.
Frank
Lorito heading down, and he'll be one of the ones. And the Perillos, and I think it's a father-son Perillo team. Richard T and Richard J, if I remember from previous years, both very involved in the Newcastle County Fire Service, one of the 3 sponsors, along with TD Bank and Brandywine Realty Trust here. And you can see Jay Jones is kind of pushing himself away from the building. Jen Bonham looks like she's further down already, the repeat edger. And so we've got them coming down here, working their way down. And it looks like Jay Jones is picking up the speed a little bit. So almost, he hasn't done this before, but he looks very experienced. And so they're coming on down there. We're going to have Mike Woodin is coming in with him as well. And apparently we've been told Mike was more or less, we don't like to use the term thrown,
See,
but that
we
was
talked about this
we
before.
talked about this a lot of no pun intended, but that he was tossed over the edge. Toss your boss, I think that's the word I use in the PSA that I do for this event. Toss your boss, your coworker, and I think it was his coworkers that convinced him to go over the edge. So one of them might be joining us to come in here. They raised the money in secret, apparently, to put him over the edge. He does work at the University of Delaware. Not sure what he does. We'll ask that if he does come in and sit down with us. So a couple of Jimmy's former colleagues are suggesting that they pass the pot around and raise a couple bucks.
Hey,
we got
you guys
spots
can do
open,
it.
guys.
What do
if
you got
brought
in-
credit
oh,
cards? We
man.
take credit cards.
Mike Raspa can
send Jimmy over.
single-handedly do it. Look at that.
So there's Jay Jones making his final descent. Jen Bonham, I believe, is on the ground, completed her second over the edge event, probably down chatting with her parents who are here. Parents are transplants from Virginia Tech, a nurse and retired professor who have moved into the area, and her sister Leslie, who actually works right across the street. And the boys are joking here. Both of them have blank checks that they're
What's going on over
gonna
here?
go pony up money here.
It's goodness
To
gracious.
get Jimmy
it is
to
an
go
actual
over the
blank
edge
check.
while he's in town broadcasting this event.
It's Cassie Neumann joining
Cassie
Frank Lorito.
Okay, so we have Cassie Neumann, who works at WGNS. Jen and Jay are on the ground, the Perillos. So a little out of order there, but we got Cassie, and who was the other one you said? Frank Lorito, right?
Yes.
Going over as well. And so they'll be getting hooked up as soon as they get over there and going down. Frank is retired. As I said, Kassie works for WGNS. We'll talk more about them when they're actually coming down the side of the building. More than $1 million now raised in this event. And so an opportunity for people to raise money. And as we've talked to a couple times about throughout the broadcast today is when we sit back and we think about it, $1,100 is a lot of money, but in the grand schemes of a multi-million-dollar budget, it's not a lot of money. But then when you start looking at the people who have done this event 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, and how that money just accumulates. 3 people raised $30,000 over the past 8 years. 3 people just by asking for donations. It's not like they got one big check or a corporate sponsor or did some big event to raise their money. I mean, those are people who are getting checks for $5, $10, $20 and raising
What's
$30,000.
the best way to explain, I guess, the effectiveness of the money? And
I think
what is it? What does $1,100 really mean to?
We are the only state in the country that completely supports their athletes by providing equipment, by providing uniforms, by providing facilities that are rented, paying for things that go on to provide the first-class event that we're able to do. And so that money stays here in the state. That it's not one of those things where we have to send a percentage here or a percentage there. It all stays right here in the state of Delaware. And so that money raised goes to the 4,200 athletes, directly to them here in the state of Delaware. And joining us is Mike Woodin. Mike, I'm going to ask you to get closer to that microphone. You can even pick it up and hold it in front of you if you need to. And so, who's with you here? You got your daughter with you?
So this is my daughter, Natalie. She was cheering me on. Yep.
Natalie, you were on the live stream. Make sure your dad shows you early next week when the live streams are available. You'll see yourself. You had a sign, right? You were holding a sign, you and your sister?
Sign, yeah.
We saw that. We assumed it was your daughter out there. And so I understand that this was a surprise gift to you to get to go over the edge.
It was kind of like that. Somebody volunteers. I think it's called voluntold. So I got signed up without my knowledge. And so funny story, my coworker, Jeannie Taylor, who is also at the University of Delaware, she signed me up without me knowing, and then she came over to my computer and said, hey, I got this weird email. I think it's supposed to be for you. And so she forwarded it to me, and I look at it and say, no, that looks like junk, I'm not clicking on that link, no way. I'm at work. And so she's, no, click on it. So I knew something was up. So I clicked on it, and I started looking at it. I said, oh, man, I said, this is awesome. I saw it was for Special Olympics, and I said, sign me up. Let's do this. There's no backing out for sure. So.
What made them think you would want to do something like that?
I don't know, Jeannie. Is she back there?
She is. She's right there. Yeah.
Well, I'm her boss, so maybe it was retribution, payback or something like that.
Yeah, maybe she was. Yeah, you never know. You never know why they try to make you to do something like this. Yeah. Was it? Have you ever done anything like this?
I think she wanted to get rid of me. No, this was my first time doing the Over the Edge event. I've done some other Special Olympics events in the past, polar bear plunge. But this is the first time going over a building, for sure. Yeah.
What do you do at the university?
Internal finance for the university.
Oh, okay.
So I work for the Facilities, Real Estate, and Auxiliary Services Organization. So they take care of all the buildings on campus, maintain them, build new ones, renovate them, all that good stuff.
Right. Oh, great. Good.
Awesome.
Well, listen, we're glad it was a surprise. Would you do it again if
Absolutely.
they
I'm
rallied
going
the
to
money?
sign up outside if I can.
Maybe you could have her go with you next time.
I wasn't going to say anything, but I think I should sign her up.
Yeah, that's right. You can. The link's live for 2019, so you guys can get all signed up. Well, we hope you enjoyed it. We hope your family enjoyed it, and you'll get to see yourself on the live stream once those are up in the pictures.
Awesome.
And look forward to having you back next year,
Thanks.
hopefully.
Hey, Natalie, did you have fun? She has a mouthful of cheese.
Yeah, she's tired of looking up.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thanks for stopping in. We really appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thanks
Guys.
for your contribution to Special Olympics
Great.
by
Thank
being
you.
part of
It's
that.
such an awesome organization. So.
Mike Woodin works at the University of Delaware, a longtime supporter of Special Olympics in a variety of events, is now can add Over the Edge, a 17-story rappel, to the list of things that he's done. And Frank Lorito and Kassie Neumann have gotten up onto the ledge and are ready to head down. That's Frank on the right, Cassie's on the left. Once again, the graphics are reversed so that when they are on the building and you can't see their faces, you'll still be able to tell which is which if you are tuned in to watch either one of them. The Perillos are still yet to come. Sarah Heimer said Kirk Becker, Gene Makalowskis, Michael and Rame Remfer, Carlene Cohill, Christy Longo, Amanda Biggs, and Vincent Longo all still lined up to go over the edge. And so it looks like we are down to the last 11 people. We are on schedule. Actually, these folks were scheduled to go over right at 4 o'clock, and it is 3:50. We did skip the Perillos. Again, that doesn't mean that they're not going. It simply means that for whatever reason, the other folks have been put ahead. Sometimes they do that. If one group's ready, they get them over and wait for the next group, even if the timing was off a little bit. Or sometimes they request to go together, which I assume is the case with the Perillos. And it might be one of those opportunities where they just didn't have both ropes available at the same time, given how people want to go down. And so you can see Frank Lorito there has already in the seated position. And this is his first time going over. And it was Kassie, who is his niece. We talked about how all kinds of family relations. Here is your uncle and niece. I actually have a niece who wants to go over herself as well. And her father, my brother, kept saying, when you turn 18, you can do whatever you want. She's now 19. I should give her a call and see if she wants to go over with me sometime. So anyway, Frank told his niece, if you go again, I'll go with you. And she called him a few months ago. And so here he is. They have a... Frank has a nephew, Dominic Romano, who is in Special Olympics, and I'm pausing here to compare it to the resume or the bio we have for Kassie, and she doesn't mention it, so apparently it's not Cassie's brother who is in Special Olympics, but maybe her cousin. Dominic Romano is a Special Olympics athlete, and he wants to do whatever he can to make sure he can continue to be part of it. He does the polar bear plunge, not here in Delaware, but for New Jersey, and that's about the craziest thing he does. He says he wants to thank his family and friends, including those from the Baywood community, for all of their support, raising that $1,100 for him. For Kassie, it's her second year. And her information, or she has family, friends who participate in Special Olympics in other states and regions. She's done the polar bear plunge and zip lining, but this is easily the most daring, she says. She wants to thank her family, friends, and colleagues, especially those who are here today to show their support for this cause. Thank you very much. So we've got Uncle Frank and his niece, Kassie, going over the edge for Special Olympics Delaware. It looks like they're going to kind of tandem it down, and by tandem I mean side by side, not connected together like they might be out of a plane. Which we would never do. Me certainly, and I can't imagine you, since you don't want to do over the edge, that you're going to be jumping out of any planes.
Correct.
And so on their way down here, as we're getting into the single digits of the number of people left, make sure you check out all our social media sites. Incredible social media coverage today, thanks to Jimmy's crew. And I'm seeing things pop up, videos of Ustream available, doing all kinds of stuff. Twitter, check out our Twitter account. And also our Facebook accounts, Instagram accounts. If you're following somebody posting or listing things, please use the hashtag OverTheEdgeDE so that we get it and that we can forward it so we can give you a shout out on the show here.
Oh, you don't have to do it now, John.
So,
I appreciate you.
Oh, I thought you wanted it now.
Oh, no.
I was going to forward Jimmy one of the videos that was up there.
Those are the archives.
So,
I can get
okay. They're the archives
That's them.
that are going to be up there. And so everything will be up on the website, and they'll be shared on social media. We'll be emailing links directly to the Edgers so that they can watch themselves. Obviously, a lot of you who have tuned in, more than 1,800 of you now, I think, or getting close to 1,800 have tuned in to see particular people in the most cases, although probably some general people. I know I've got some friends who I sent the link to and said, hey, you should turn this on and check it out while you can. And so probably have done that as well. But the people who have gone over the edge, I think almost 100% of them tune in again next week to see themselves go over the edge. After all, who wouldn't want to see that? And so they do that. I've even heard of some people who have watch parties where they'll get people together who not only, okay, if I went over the edge and couldn't get to see it, so I want to see it, but I've got 5 or 6 friends who, for whatever reason, couldn't watch it live, either work or other commitments or firewalls at work. And so they get together and order a couple pizzas and sit back and watch the people go over the edge. So one of the things that's neat, we think we go above and beyond what the few others who do live stream their events, from what we've heard, where they provide maybe one camera angle or they just interview the people when it's over. But what Jimmy Smith and his crew have been able to do is get 3 different camera angles as well as put together the social media piece. Jimmy also does weddings and any other type of event that you might want, whether you need photography, videography, or live stream. You can reach out and find out more information if you are interested in any of his services. You can actually just contact me, John Busby, at Special Olympics, and I will forward you his information. He does great work, as you can see, and so it's something that he does as a passion, and that's one of the great things and why this production has always been so good over the years, and why when Jimmy left the state of Delaware and headed to Ohio, one of the first things we did is make sure that we had him set aside this date so he could come back and continue to do this broadcast with us. Jimmy, do you have a website or do you have an email that people can give rather than go through? Not that I wouldn't forward the information, but
Yeah, it's thedigitalteamohio.com.
there you go, an easy one. Digitalteamohio.com if you are interested in learning more about what Jimmy can do. And Jimmy does travel as well, and so any idea you might have, he is certainly interested in hearing about how he might be able to help you enhance your event, whether it's a fundraising event or a personal event, what you might be able to do, or what he might be able to do for you, I should say. So the Uncle Frank Lorito and Kassie Neumann are heading down the side of the building. Looks like they're about a third of the way down. And it looks like they're not going quickly, but they're not going slowly either. They're keeping up a good pace. They're getting their money's worth. That's right. And the best view is when you're at the top, but it's also the most nerve-wracking, as you've heard several people say, that when you're not secure yet and leaning back, that is the most tense that you are, and so it's hard to enjoy the view. And when you get to this point, what you're enjoying mostly is the fact that you're high up and you can look around and see the surrounding buildings. You don't see a lot beyond the buildings at this point because there's a lot of tall buildings. You're in the middle of the city. But there are some nice views from up there. And I remember the experience at this point. What I was thinking is, boy, look how high up I am. And that literally, I don't even think I've ever been that high in a building outside on a balcony. Like I've been in buildings that high where I've looked out a window in an office building, but I had never until I came to this building for the walkthrough and was up on the roof, had never been out in the open at a building this high. And so to me, that was a big part of the thrill of doing this event once I got past the nervous part that everybody does seem to experience. There you can see the views. We looked at that earlier at about 11 o'clock, and you pointed out, Jimmy, the storm that was out west, because that is the western, you're looking to the west right there. And so if there was a storm coming in, that is where you would be able to see it. And so it is looking clear for right now. We've got about 10 people left to go. And so, of course, we want it to stay that way. And 11 people, 6, 9, 10, 11 people to go. The Perillos, Richard T. and Richard J., we have not heard that they are not going. They were scheduled to go at 3:50. So, and again, it's not that we are behind schedule. There's actually been 2 people that have gone, 3 people now who have gone, who were supposed to go after them, who are now already gone and done. And so we are on schedule, but again, there could be a variety of reasons why the Perillos have not gone yet. But we have not been contacted to be told that they are not here. So we are assuming if you are tuned in to see them, please stay tuned in, because they very well could be the next group. And then also still to go is Sarahi Merced, Kirk Becker, Gene Mikhalauskas, Michael Remfer, Rame Remfer, Carlene Cohill, Christy Longo, Amanda Biggs, and Vincent Longo, all still to go here. The 8th annual Over the Edge event here in Delaware for Special Olympics benefits 4,200 athletes who compete in 19 sports. The next big event coming up is the Summer Games, June 8th and 9th at the University of Delaware. Go to SODE.org for more information on how you can volunteer and be part of the biggest sports event Special Olympics offers in terms of athletes, unified partners, coaches, spectators. June 8th and 9th, like I said, at the University of Delaware. Big opening ceremonies at 12:30 on Friday, June 8th. A spectacular way for you to come out and see how excited the athletes are. They compete in powerlifting, tennis, track and field, bocce, swimming, and softball over those 2 days. Preliminaries and a lot of the events on Friday, finals on Saturday, and in some of the sports, the finals start first thing Friday because of the mid-season tournaments that they were able to have. These athletes have been training some as early as January. I know we had a few swim teams that started in January. Everybody else kicked it in March. They fought the same weather. All the high schools and youth sports organizations fought this spring with snow as late March, wet fields, muddy fields, windy conditions. But they managed to find different ways. One of the big emphasis Special Olympics made this year was asking coaches to make alternate plans. So if practice gets rained out Monday, what's your backup practice plan? Either to go into a gym so it's not rained out, or that maybe practice on Wednesday. And so you can see a high five there at the bottom. Frank Lorito and Casey Neumann. Frank completing his first over the edge event. Casey, her second. She talked Uncle Frank into going down the edge. We've mentioned how there are a lot of family relations that take part in this event. Father, sons, or I should say parent, child, cousins, sisters. We had a mother-daughter earlier, and an older mother-daughter, a mother in her 60s and a daughter in her 30s type of thing. And then we've had the Junglings, the daughter who's more in her 20s, early 20s, I believe, father in his 40s or 50s. And so a lot of different age variations here. You do have to be 18 years old to be in this. You must weigh at least 100 pounds, and you can't weigh more than 300. As you see a couple of cute dogs there down at the party. Paying attention to the ones that landed. The next group hasn't gone over, so don't worry, you're not missing anything. We'll get you right back up to the roof as soon as there's something to see. And you can see people in the bleachers there enjoying the view. We brought the bleachers in early this morning. They arrived. WSDW, you see the signage there. They had a remote for the wake-up crew. Was here Joe Allen and Nancy Johnson. Nancy Johnson went over the edge this morning. She was the first one to go over at 8:50. And was somebody who she would tell you, and she said it on the air, was really, really scared to go over, but she did it. So she was in the same position as these people were. What has now been 7 hours ago, a little bit more than 7 hours ago, when she got up on the ledge there. And at that point, you still have your feet down. There are the Perillos, Richard J. and Richard T. Perillos. And they are going to go down. So again, if you're tuning in, and they were scheduled to go at 3:50, and it's not that we're running late, it's just that others stepped up and went early. Richard T. is the father. So Richard T., the father, is going to be on the right once they go down. And Richard Perillo, the son, is on the left. Both of them are involved with the Newcastle County Fire Service. And Rich Perillo, the son, is also involved with the Newcastle City Police. And both are law enforcement volunteers for Special Olympics, or I should say the son is Rich Perillo, is a law enforcement volunteer for Special Olympics. So both of them getting ready to go over the edge. I know it doesn't say how many times they've gone over, but I know they have gone over because we've discussed the relationship before, father and son going over. So they're getting ready to go over.